Oh, hi there. I wanted to make another hockey video today. First off, I wanted to say I'm wearing a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey. I know Washington just won the Stanley Cup, and a lot of people are still cheering and happy for Alex Ovechkin. However, I look at it from the standpoint that, that's very nice for Alex, but, he didn't invite me or a lot of other people to his parties, so, other than a congratulatory statement, it doesn't warrant any more appreciation. Just saying. Yeah, I'm wearing a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey for a reason or two. This jersey is actually a custom one. It's got Ty Domi on the back with his son's numbers. He plays for Phoenix, Max Domi, and I put a C on it because I just felt like it. Okay, that's it. I heard Ty Domi was an idiom for me stupid or something like that. He was a comical guy in his career when he played mostly for the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's how most people remember him. The other reason I decided to don the Toronto Maple Leafs jersey for this video is because I actually don't have an Ottawa Senators jersey. There was a few designs that I did like, in particular were the Senators looking off in the other direction, but to get a reliable one at this point in time costs $250. I don't have $250 right now to spend on a jersey, so I'm not buying one right now. Someday I will, but not right now. And I don't like their new design so much. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about Ottawa is because there was a CBC report by Ian Hanemansing, and it was saying basically that the wife of Erik Karlsson is being harassed by the girlfriend of Mike Hoffman, a player on the Ottawa Senators. And this had quite a bit to do with the passing of the Karlsson's son Axel in his infancy. I remember hearing the story, and at the time, I'm always the first to say, look, I think that's fake, or I think someone's gone into hiding or something like that. But, I was thinking about other things at the time, so I didn't really register that. So anyway, this vague story, I only watched a 2-minute clip, did 5 minutes worth of research on it. I haven't watched a single NHL game this entire season and playoffs. And I've had plenty of free time to do that. I've just chosen not to for my own reasons. So I don't know what Erik Karlsson's demeanor has been like during this season. Maybe he's shown depression or something like that. I wouldn't know because I haven't been watching his games. I haven't seen a single interview of him or, really current up-to-date pictures of him. Of course, Ottawa had that, big push and lost recently in the playoffs to Pittsburgh, who won the Stanley Cup. But anyway, now this is good and news that this has been brought up in the media. It's good news because that means I think that the Karlsson's son Axel has just been put into hiding. Who in their right mind would name their son Axel anyway? That's one thing. And the thing is, Erik Karlsson is actually a handsome man. He's not 30 yet, so, you know, he's a hockey player, so he can't be that intelligent. He's Swedish. I've made videos about like why I don't like Swedish culture and things like that. It's not to say that I couldn't like someone who's Swedish, but if you're too Swedish, too proud of your own country, then you know, there's going to be some issues, some big issues. And you know, this coincides with the whole story that's going on here, that you know, Mike Hoffman's wife was sending all these kind of, I'm not going to repeat them, they're just negative messages trolling Erik Karlsson's wife. And with the name Mike Hoffman's girlfriend has, she must be some sort of Eastern European or something like that. I can't recall what her name is offhand. I mean, I suppose I could have written it down, but you know, I didn't. Anyway, yeah, so that was a thing, and evidently it was thousands of messages. And the thing is, when you think about it from the bigger picture, you go, well, why did it take a year for it to, or a long time for it to surface on mainstream media, and then they only did a quick snippet of it? And it won't be brought up again, maybe for a long time, or ever. And what I think is that Mike Hoffman and his girlfriend were the fall piece for show on the television to, you know, kind of illustrate a, you know, someone within the organization that didn't like the Karlssons for whatever amount of reasons. And in this particular case, I think, well, I mean, of course, according to the story, it's Mike Hoffman's girlfriend not liking Erik Karlsson's wife. It does sound kind of bitchy, some of the, you know, vague things you hear, but it's not just that. I mean, making it to the NHL and, you know, being paid the absurd amount of money that some of those hockey players make, there are a lot of women that would like to be in those positions. I mean, a lot of them. And some of them can get quite angry and quite bitter if they lose out on their opportunity. And I mean, that's just too bad. I mean, I guess Erik Karlsson and Mike Hoffman would like to think that there's plenty of them to go around, except, you know, like when there's like 10,000 of them, then, you know, it actually does become an issue. And it's not just that. You know, the National Hockey League is represented in many parts of the world. Within, you know, sub-communities or underground at very least, or, you know, mainstream. I mean, they're, like in Saudi Arabia, they really like basketball over there. So, I mean, basketball's really big in Saudi Arabia. And I'm sure it is in China as well. And hockey, they don't publicly endorse it very much or ever. I'm sure it's something, you know, they kind of maybe think about, but who knows. But there definitely is an underground movement that actively pursues hockey. And not only that, but there is just kind of a cult following that follows wealthy men who are handsome and what they consider available. And they'll say anything to discourage any other woman from going with them. And if the guy goes, well, they're just, you know, it's a girlfriend, whatever, it's relaxed, all this sort of stuff, you know, it gets under the girlfriend's skin too, that they gotta move a bit faster because there's other chicks that are gonna push her out of the way otherwise. And, you know, that isn't really right. And, you know, it can lead to involuntary celibates, actually. So it's completely ridiculous that, you know, women can be totally bitchy and somehow it's still the man's fault. I don't quite get that, okay? Maybe Mike Hoffman and Erik Karlsson don't like each other. Maybe it is true that the wife of Erik Karlsson and the girlfriend of Mike Hoffman really dislike each other. I don't know. We're only getting the garbage story here, the the butt end of the story, and like I was really paying attention, for that 2-minute CBC YouTube clip telling about the story, and when I saw it, I was immediately able to decipher the problem. Not just because I like to think of myself as a Sherlock Holmes and I can figure these things out when I see them, and I don't need much time to analyze, interpret, and correctly diagnose what the problem is, but also as an incel, involuntary celibate. A lot of these sort of problems are, to a lesser extent, indicative towards me. So, this is just putting words and context in the media so that I can not relate, but obviously see a connection there, that it's not entirely dissimilar from my situation. I mean, obviously he's worth a lot more money, a lot more prominent, and all that sort of stuff, at least for now. But anyway, so yeah, it's not just the women in the immediate vicinity that are the problems for Erik Karlsson and his wife. It's also internationally, because I mean, as I said, he's a Swede. So back in Sweden, where everyone is going on about Skarsgård and it and Pennywise. By the way, I haven't watched that movie. Clips of it showed up on my recommended list. I've gone to the Sunrise record store, sells DVDs, and looked at DVDs. I saw it sitting there and went, I don't want this. Doesn't look like it entertained me. I'm not, I'm not a fucked up person. I don't believe in this kind of junk. So I would scroll over and watch something a little bit better. Anyway, it has a significant part to do with what I said before about Swedish culture. PewDiePie and the school from hell or something like that, that he had mentioned a few times, and just some underlying factors. I'm not saying Erik Karlsson agrees with any of that, as I did say about the Sedins before, but hey, we don't know. They don't talk about that sort of stuff ever. With hockey, whenever they talk about it, it's simplistic, statistical information that they talk about. And I have had people cuss me out because I don't go along with that simplistic narrative. I've been told you're not a fan because you didn't watch a single game. And, here I am with a fair amount of jerseys. Those cost money. I've investigated from best I can from my situation on what actually is going on the NHL. I try to keep up to date on, who won the Stanley Cup. It's been a few days. I may have forgotten that Alex Ovechkin, won the Conn Smythe, and everyone thought Marc-Andre Fleury was going to win it. I might have forgotten that. Who knows? But anyway, this is a story that's fucking retarded. It's fucking retarded. Okay, Erik Karlsson, handsome guy, worth a lot of money, has potential to possibly win a Stanley Cup one day, although it's, from right now, I would say it doesn't look very likely. But if you had asked me a couple years ago about Alex Ovechkin, or even last year, I'd have said the same thing about him. So, things happen. But yes, women can be attracted to men who are handsome, have money, and if they can learn a bit about their personality as well, then it doesn't matter that the dude doesn't actually know them on any context. Like, they could be just a secret admirer they've never seen or heard of before and have no idea of what they look like. Behind the scenes, it's becoming a thing, and where it's kind of like the negative cult of personality that I said. Where the person goes, if there's invested interest, whether it's money or just whatever other reasons, then it can be very easy to control how somebody thinks. And in my particular situation, I got a chronic sore throat, so I'm stuck at home all the time, and the only thing I really have to talk to is the internet, and the internet's a fucking crazy person. It really, really is. Sometimes I see rational, sane people on there, but very few and far between. Yeah, most of the people I have to deal with on the internet are nutters, to be honest with you. They're just nutters. And I don't like how they exercise their authority. Lies, deception, threats, all that sort of stuff. It's just like, okay, is that the way you want to play? Well, guess what? You overstepped your boundaries, and you were wrong in the face of your employers and other invested parties. So I'm just going to sit here and tell the truth about things, because that will prove you wrong, and in the end I will win just because you were flagrantly wrong, and certain parties pursued aggressive policies against me, making me an involuntary celibate for one thing, and the sore throat, and a couple other things they've done. Obviously Erik Karlsson doesn't have that problem. He's got a wife. Mike Hoffman doesn't have that problem because he's got a girlfriend. And, there probably are a lot of NHL players that one way or the other, whether they're just focused on training and winning the Stanley Cup, kind of making them voluntary celibates because they're just preoccupied with whatever it is they were doing. That's a thing too. And sometimes it can turn into just kind of like a female cult that makes decisions and things like that, undermine the decision-making process of said individual. I'm talking about the man. When there's enough interest involved and enough significant parties are interested, they can control things as far as verbal communication and the exchange of information, as well as physical contact or any showing of inclination of liking a person. Then that can be quite dangerous. And there are men who didn't fall into that trap or problem, who go along with it because they're, it feeds into their tendencies, and I covered this a little bit in one of my other videos, where basically it's another dude out of the dating circle, so that's good for them, less competition. There are the other ethnicities that just like seeing the white man in an unpleasant situation, because they may be from East India, they may be from Africa, they may be from Asia, and all those places are shitholes. And they go, well, I don't care if one white guy is getting screwed over. Blah, 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 blah. Well, okay, you can have that feeling. I don't care if your whole race is losing this, political warfare. Too bad. I mean, I have to look out for my own self-interest. Not a nice thing to say, but, if you're going to be an asshole to me, then I have no choice but to do something about it, if you know what I mean. Okay, so, covered the basics there, elaborated on the story that was brought upon on CBC as best I could, but there are some things I still wanted to mention. There was rumor that Erik Karlsson, big time, he wanted out, or the organization wanted him out of Ottawa, and they, claimed he had a underperforming season, and that the Ottawa Senators finished second to last, which they did. But, considering Erik Karlsson came back from a significant injury, he had a torn tendon or something like that, and needed surgery. And he finished with 62 points, and they're going, oh, those are such low points. He's a defenseman. That's a ton of points. And he only played 72 games, so, he wasn't a point-a-game guy, but there aren't many defensemen that are. And the ones that are point-a-game defensemen, they're not point-a-game defensemen for very long, just for various reasons. I mean, you get guys like Mike Green, who just tear apart the scoring sheet, same with Shea Weber in his better days, and, all of a sudden it becomes, and Zdeno Chara, and then, things change, and the dynamic of how they play the game changes, and they don't bring up the numbers that they used to. It happens a lot quicker with defensemen for some reason. Because I guess, defensemen aren't associated with scoring a lot of goals, they're associated with assists. And, I've never held an assist in the same regard as a goal. Putting the puck in the net is way more important. It's getting the job done. I mean, of course, if a pass is articulate and well positioned and all that sort of stuff, so that the sniper or the gritty goal scorer can get that goal, then obviously that's important. But at the end of the day, it's the person who puts it into the net and gets another goal up on the score sheet who did the right thing. Anyway, so that's just a statistical point I wanted to say. So yeah, anyway, Erik Karlsson, there was trade rumors and things like that. He's got a big honking contract that goes on for, I guess, another year now. He may or may not get traded. I wouldn't even know what Ottawa would get for him, to be honest with you. To me, it sounds like a bad idea for Ottawa to do it. Except if it's not his style of play, which is the issue. And, because of this, quick CBC report, I'm inclined to believe that it's some sort of underground, secretive gang within Ottawa that greatly disapproved of, I suppose, his marriage to his wife. And Mike Hoffman and his girlfriend, as I said, were the showpiece to illustrate exactly what's going on, because evidently they played on the same team. I don't know if there's any moments where they were at each other's throats or they were really angry with each other. I'm sure they were, but to way lesser extent to the bigger problem, which the news never really wants to cover, in fact never does. And it's just like, there's so many issues with all those kind of chicks and their selfish attitudes. I mean, the one thing I disagree with the most is the undermining of the particular male and his decision-making prowess. A lot of women figure, oh, he's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's doing, and she's there to essentially put a potato sack over him and then drag him off back to her cave. that's putting it bluntly, but that's kind of what it is. Because women can be quite selfish in certain circumstances, and they're not like men. Like if a man is fighting over a woman with another man, the woman's gonna know, no doubt about it, and the guys will make no secret of it. That's just the way we are. But women are, they can be calculating and backstabbing and secretive, and which would be one thing. But what you also got to consider is, what if they had to work really hard to get where they were, and the guy ends up going with that woman, but maybe the passion isn't there, maybe he doesn't, maybe he had other choices in mind and just went, look, this is just too difficult, and I'll just go with this chick. And the woman kind of knows that, and but she's still, he's the handsome guy, he's worth a lot of money, he is genuinely a nice guy, but there's more complexities than that, especially when you look at the bigger picture. So, I mean, is she going to show negative connotations to his face? Probably not. But will she do things that he wouldn't like and just do it in a secretive manner? Like cheating on him is the obvious one. Because the difference between women being interested in a guy and guys being interested in women is typically when the guy gets what he wants, whether it be kissing a cuddle, a blowjob, whatever. Genuinely, he's content with that and he can move on. It's not always that way. Sometimes they want a relationship and all that sort of thing. It really just all depends. It's not always the same scenario. But yeah, sometimes women have that advantage of having men around them that they can mess around with, and there's no real strong commitment there, and then they're still actively pursuing that guy. And those men that they had that they had available will still be around. I mean, the guy will make it a point, I know I would in that situation, to make sure that those other people were gone, including the women as well, because, or most of them anyway, unless I had sufficient belief that they weren't going to be a problem in the future, because I don't like conjuring, I don't like surprising, I don't like premeditative behaviors from that sort of crowd. I just don't like it. And if you're the new guy on the scene, you're hot stuff, A, they're going to be jealous guys, B, they're going to be jealous women for different reasons against you, and they will always be more friends with the chick that you just met as opposed to the new guy showing up. Yeah, that's just the way it is. It's a bunch of bullshit, but it's the truth. And like I would look at him and I'd be like, especially old boyfriends, I'd be like, I'm keeping an eye on you, bastard. Like there's all kinds of diversionary tactics that women can use to kind of do an underhanded maneuver just so that they can feel that they've one-upped, that they've got the advantage. And they particularly like doing it to guys that are jerks, they're mean unnecessarily, and sorts of things like that. The glamour, being the handsome man, being rich, and even being nice to an extent is all good and well, but it could be just a little thing that pisses them off, like, I don't know, you're walking past down the street with a chick holding her hand, and you happen to notice another hot chick, and you just take a look, and sometimes that is enough to piss her off. And she might, retaliate by like actually having somewhat of sexual relations with a friend she had already had, And this is especially difficult if you're an involuntary celibate to accept, because you're going, this is a bunch of bullshit. And and some guys in that position, they really don't want to get trapped in that situation. And I can't blame them, but this is a theory I have about some people, and I'm not defending them if they're worse than what they appear, but Brad Marchand, he did something that was overtly gay on national television. Him licking the face of Ryan Callahan from the Tampa Bay Lightning is everywhere on the internet and probably everywhere around the world. And as I said, if that's all he does, I mean, that's obviously damaging to his image, but if you're a little bit smarter than that and you go, if that's all he did and he was actually blackmailed into doing that by whatever means, then that's not nearly as gay as a whole lot of other things that are going on, as I said in that video. Although, he should have done a bit better to avoid that situation, if that's what he wanted to do. I mean, if he is a full-fledged homo, that's his business. However, there are some men who take the homo persona as a way of getting away from crazy women. Because sometimes there are crazy women, and they got that potato sack in their hand, and you go, no, how about no, that's not happening. Because, if, people, handsome, well-off, well-respected, genuinely nice hockey players or whatever, have, women pursuing them, that's flattering, but you would think they would all be pretty, but no, they're not. Some of them are, physically ugly. They just happen to be in a position in society where they can put the lean on. And that would be one of those things that, if one of those women came along with, that potato sack I was telling you about, and, it was clear that the guy, it was convenience, it was other things, and, he's a little bit disappointed. There will be bitter resentment in that relationship. It'll just be underlying, and I just don't think that's a healthy combination, to be honest with you. So there's that. I mean, most of the chicks are good looking, proper body weight, good complexion, nice hair, nice body parts. Hopefully they're not too dirty. All those kinds of things, because that's the other thing. There's some women that are, aesthetically beautiful, but on the inside they're rotten to the core and they are very dirty. Like you wouldn't even want to, ring the doorbell because you'd be afraid of getting an STI or something. They're that dirty. But, dirty women have the advantage sometimes of having a social network that has a bit more strength to it, a bit more authority and, pushing room. And, sometimes, they've had a harder life than they figure they deserve, and, if they know a little bit about the guy, like his personality, or think he's an idiot and they think they can change his personality. As I said, I've got 80 hours worth of YouTube content on there. I don't know how much of it is available to whomever, but it is there, so somebody could get a a general idea of who I am as a person. And being an involuntary celibate, I'm untouched I'm still fresh meat, one might say. And I don't want to look at myself as like that, because that's just not a healthy way to think of it. You know, obviously I've had to go through some complicated thoughts in my head in regards to, well, hockey, and, you know, the fact that I'm watching it blindly. I hear everything though. If there's a sound that's being made, and I attribute this to a visible sign as well, that's all part of a different set of senses for me anyway, because I've adapted to being an involuntary celibate, unfortunately. I wish I'd never had to have this experience, but it's just how it worked. And yeah, so it was just a whole combination of problems, and you know, I think how this came about was multiculturalism, to be honest with you. Because when you have too many chefs, it spoils the broth. Always does. Too many chiefs, not enough Indians. And you can't have people with completely contradictory opinions. Not that, you know, the National Hockey League has always agreed with each other on things. No, that's not the case at all. But yeah, you can't have people there in making decisions that are openly opposed to you know, things actually getting better. They just want to punish other people because they're underlying discrimination. And it don't matter if they turn around and they have a smile on their face and they're being friendly to you. That doesn't mean they're not discriminatory. That doesn't mean they're not racist. And also this philosophy that some people have, that if you're having sexual relations, heterosexual relations, with someone of a different race, that makes you not a racist. That's a total crock. Total crock. And it doesn't matter who it is going with who. It's not accurate, and it's more the individual trying to assert their own authority, their own power. And with people who understand what power is, they never really want to give it up or stop pursuing it. So the world discourages people from going after power, and they do so very effectively. But you ain't want to be one of them stupid sheep that's, you know, just waiting for someone to come along with a potato sack in their hand. I certainly don't. I'm not a pushover. And, you know, yeah, getting back to interracial dating, don't go by what the internet says. The internet lies and perpetuates scenarios that do happen, but they don't happen nearly as often as people like to portray them as. Anyway, it is actually more offensive for the woman to be cheated on by the guy with a woman of a different ethnicity than it is the other way around. I mean, it is infuriating. There's no lying about it. Nobody likes that. And the only kind of guys that really put up with it are, you know, the ones who are trying to fit in today's mainstream society and its narrative. And so long as it isn't happening to them, they don't care, because, you know, they'll even laugh about it. They go, ooh, that other white guy got shafted. Hey, guess what, fucker? We're gonna change the propaganda apparatus, and it's gonna be people like you who are gonna get what you deserve. You wanna take a shot at me like that? Hey, we'll think of something for you. Maybe not along those lines, because I don't respect that tactic. I think it's lowbrow and very derogatory against people who are similar to yourself. So, I'll find my own way of having a direct conversation with men who have that kind of ideological belief. Mostly gay guys. I don't like them, don't like their ideology, dislike everything that they stand for, and I'm going to get negative views for that, and I don't care. Because I will say that I don't approve of the way they think. And not all homos think the same, but, things have to be considered, okay? Anyway, getting back to the male cheating on the female with a person from a different racial background. That can be more offensive because men can be stupid in some situations. They may go, well, it's irritating me that these women are, being promiscuous. This is my opportunity to do it. And they're barking up the wrong tree because the women might like them a bit more than they would have appreciated. And then, that's, how, they kind of brainwash them as well and things like that. And they're just like little things that women can do that are a little bit more offensive. Like when a guy, gets a blowjob from a chick, he's not really thinking about too much. It's just, it feels good on his private parts. That's mostly it. But women can talk a bit dirty about that. And it is extremely offensive for the woman that was supposed to be in the picture, and it turns out it's the other woman that's going about this and going about it in a bitchy way. And that is, because it depends how serious the main chick is. That is a thing. I mean, I'm not that kind of guy. Like I believe in you go with one chick. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. That's just the way it is. And you kind of just go with one chick at a time because it creates less drama. You're not gonna have big Goliaths come after you for reasons that don't make any sense, or less so anyway. Unless it's gone like totally crazy, your social life. Hopefully that is not the case for me. I'm hoping in the outside world it's not like that. I'm here in my little bubble and I've got my thoughts to myself, so I'm just going, okay, I'm trying to rationalize what's going on here, and I'm just hoping that the people outside the bubble are doing the same thing. Although it sounds like they're not when I talk to them, especially on the internet, and that's basically the only time I consistently talk to anybody. So you can understand why I'm frustrated with all that. That's very good reason for being frustrated. And I'm not sure, are they genuinely crazy, or are they just the show, the representation of the crazy out there that's obviously got a vested interest in me because of my qualities. Because I would like to enter the social world and things be normal. I don't want to deal with, all of society's problems. I want to, go about doing things myself. So, yeah, this is a very complicated subject, and, there are many details I'm missing out on just because that information is not available. But that is, that sums up kind of what goes on when there's money, power, individuals, cult of personality, this whole thing all in one place. And I really despise the term incel. because I believe incel doesn't mean the same thing as involuntary celibate. I think, anyway, I'm starting to figure that. I think incel may mean something else. So obviously that's the first word a person hears when, you know, they're isolated. So they start using that word, and that word means different things to different people. And all of a sudden, you know, they're hashtagged with all these kind of names that aren't indicative to that person. Like, I'm going to say involuntary celibate because I am innocent. I didn't do anything. But it is clear that I wouldn't mind going with some chicks or, you know, whatever, figure something out. And I'm unable to do so because there's a crowd circling around me that essentially is beating me up every single damn day. Because, you know, chronic sore throat, being talked to like shit. It's the same thing as, you know, it's just mob mentality where, you know, it's a small village and it is the one person they pick on, and that's to fill some sort of psychological need for them to assert themselves. Like, it isn't always that one person's fault. I mean, sometimes that one person is a piece of trash, but, you know, that whole, you know, mob mentality, flash mob kind of attitude is not the right answer. And okay, throughout history that hasn't been a good thing for certain peoples throughout time in American history, but we're not going to talk about that here because it has nothing to do with me. I'm not happy. I don't like the situation, and I most certainly, and I am gonna be chauvinistic about it. I think that's the right word I wanted to use. Anyway, I'm gonna be selfish about it, that's what I mean. I'm not going with ugly women. I'm not going with men. I'm not going with well-experienced women. Doesn't matter if they're 20, 25, 30, 35, whatever. If they've had a number of sexual partners, too many, no. If there are women who are just bitches, and they've been mean to women that I actually like, then they're off the list too. And the thing, that's the concept a lot of guys don't understand. They go, well, you ain't been getting action. How can you be turning things down? You know, beggars can't be choosers. Actually, I'm not begging anything. I'm laying down what the law is as far as me and my relationships go in the future. I'm not being pushed around by an idiotic mob because I've fundamentally proven them wrong on other things, and you know, this is coming from a stumblebone drunk, so what does that say about them? What's the matter with these people? Seriously, what's wrong with them? So, you know, because the bottom line is, guys like me, we don't want to be told what to do. And we don't want to be coerced into doing things we don't want to do. And typically when this stance sort of happens, people get a little bit belligerent when they're not going to get their way. I've seen it on the internet, just in the manner of which people speak when they're not, you know, when they're saying things to me and I'm not interpreting their information the way they want me to. And I've seen them get mad, and like I've seen it where it's just all of a sudden it's like a bureaucratic kind of mad, where it's just like they keep saying the same simple thing over and over. They like drive the physical intensity up, and it's like this, just like it's like almost like the, you know, the Ultimate Warrior with the belt buckle, or you know, the belt rope, or the rope to the ring, and he's going, and it's just the physical intimidation. Okay. I have not been able to work out as much as I'd like to. I don't have as much energy as I'd like to at present. Believe me, I work out as often as I can when I'm physically able to. But there are other ways of dealing with people who can't control their sanctimonious rage, especially when they have no right in the world to be talking to me like that. In particular, women. It's just the grossest hypocrisy in the world that all this sort of stuff can happen to a man, and the woman lives in relative comfort, has normal relationships and things like that. Maybe she's focused her efforts on a person like myself, and sometimes it's meant she's had to put up with some crap from other people, who are in authoritative positions, which is not good. However, if the situation were reversed and the guy was the one looking in and knew everything about the chick and, had some sort of thing for her or whatever, and then, try to slide on in. I know men have done that in the past, alright? That isn't me. I didn't do that, so don't think of me as that. But in today's society, and as it should be, that person's a stalker and a creeper, and a pervert probably. Even if it's a woman doing it. And it most certainly is. Definitely in the eyes of any rational man, if a man is pursuing a woman like that. I don't even want to think of how gross it must be for Lady Gaga. I mean, she's probably had the most disgusting men that have lusted after her, and I feel real sorry for her. That is gross. That's enough to make you want to throw up. Okay. I've talked about a wide range of subjects here because there's a great complexity, and it's a combination of reasons how I've come about this sort of train of thought in my head, and I pin it down to my superior Johnny Lee Miller style intellectual prowess. Anyway, I'm going to finish up this video because I've been talking for a while, and my camera cuts out at an hour. Not my web camera, but my camera does, so I have to keep that in mind when I'm talking, especially when I'm talking elaborately about a complicated subject, of which you're not going to find on Wikipedia. So don't go do your research, read something on it in a book or the internet. That's not doing research, asshole. That's called studying. There's a difference between research, where you go out and discover something, and studying, when you learn something that somebody else already discovered. Fucking idiots. Don't waste my fucking time. Anyway, talk to you guys later. Have a good one.